Welcome to Saugeen EDC, the local edge, where we're working in partnership for our community's future. I'm your host, Rose Austin. Join me as we talk with the people, partners, and businesses driving growth and innovation across our region.
Welcome, John.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Jan.
Thanks for coming, being a part of the Saugeen Economic Development, the Local Edge podcast. This is episode 6 of our podcast, and we're calling this podcast Pivot or Perish. And when Rose and I discussed this topic, you were the first person we thought of. So I'm just going to introduce you a little bit, and then we can get at her. So, John, thanks for coming again. John Collius, the owner of For the Love of the Game. I can remember back, way back when you first started your business. It was a different type of business. It was Fourth Line brand. And I remember I was living in Kitchener, and I was wearing one of your Fourth Line brand, whether it was a T-shirt or a hat. And I was hanging around the New Hamburg area, and I was playing hockey down there for the New Hamburg Old Timers. Shout out to the old Crocs down in New Hamburg. But I remember wearing the Fourth Line hat, and I think it was either the hat or the T-shirt, probably the T-shirt that said, when the game's on the line, who rides the pine?
Yeah.
Fourth Line.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, classic.
Yeah. And so I remember the boys, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that shirt? And I told them about you, Johnny K Sports up in Durham. And I know a few of them even traveled up there to get one of your T-shirts or hats. So
yeah,
that was probably, I think it was probably in the late 90s.
Yeah, 25,
yeah,
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah, and I think we've probably been friends for probably 35 plus years now.
At least, right? JDSS, high school, right? And then, same, watching you play midget hockey, right? Keith McMillan, Coach Bev Patterson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're a couple of years older than me. So lots of history with Jamie and I here for sure.
Yeah. So I guess what we should probably do is just go back to the beginning then of your business and being an entrepreneur, where it all started. So if we went back to the beginning, what does that look like to you?
You know what? We're going to go back to like June of 96. I'm 21 years old. I'm working for MSO Construction. I'm a flagger. Back then
for
MSO.
Yep. For Don Nyman.
Don Nyman was my boss. I worked with a lot of great people. Ryan Peckman.
Oh, yeah.
Rob Becker, Robert Stone. Just a good crew. At the time I was dating a girl who her dad was like big time entrepreneur, great family. Like, we'd go to hockey games together, and he had the idea, Bev Eckert.
Yep.
Great guy.
Great Caesars too.
Yeah.
Makes a killer Caesar.
Yeah, he does. And, I hung around the family a lot, and Bev was a successful business owner. And he suggested that, you'd be a good entrepreneur, I think, owner. And at the time, the Durham Huskies Metro Junior A hockey was coming to town. So the timing was like, new junior hockey team, should be a new sports store in town. So 21, zero business experience. And I just finished playing junior hockey in Mount Forest. I could have been an overage that year.
Right.
But I played my first year senior hockey that year. But that's how it started, encouraged by Bev and Barb Eckert. And they backed me, financially. And I rented some property from Bev there, just a little area, no bigger than this area here, and just sold hard goods. And that's how it started, but as for I'd go to the credit union, I'd see Wayne Cargo, legend, bank manager, great guy. I'd sit down there and he would ask me, what are your projections? And he could have asked me anything. I didn't know what he was talking about. Projections, all I think about is being at school and then projector, right? So, but what he meant was like, what do you think you're going to do in sales?
Right.
I have no idea. So then Bev suggested that I go see a good friend, Buzz Zimmerman. He just lives around the corner from me. Great guy. And he's
Beautiful manicured lawn.
Yeah, the best.
Right down to the creek.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the best. So I remember being in his basement there, and we're crunching some numbers. What do you think you'll do in sales in June? I don't know, 20,000. Put her down. So, and we did that through the whole year, and we had our little projections. We went back to Wayne Cargo, and we got it done. Signed it up, and that's how it started. And official opening day was like August 17th, 96. And then in October, some more space became available in that building. So I kind of opened up. So I was a little bigger then.
That was in the Tilton Hilton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in the back of the Tilton, and then the side view opened up. So I went in there as well. So we had lots of space, and it was just, skate sharpening, learn as you go. That's how it started.
Right.
And Bev was a big part of that.
So speaking of learn as you go, so back in the early days, what about entrepreneurship? Like, what did you learn real early being an entrepreneur, and what were the risks that you learned about real early on?
Learning that, you can't, you want to please every customer, and, a customer might say, well, I need it Friday. Can you do it for Friday? And you're just not sure if it can be ready for Friday, but you're like, yeah, okay, I'll have it ready for Friday. But then all of a sudden you can't have it ready for Friday, and then you got to go back to them. So learning early,
so over promising.
Yeah. So, the old learning early that, if you think you can have it ready for Friday, great. But, tell them Monday, Tuesday. And if you can get it done, always do your best is the most important thing. But learning just not to stretch myself too thin, because I'd take it home and I'd worry about it. And then you'd small community, you'd see the customer out there, and oh yeah, right, I gotta get this done. So just always making sure, when you say something, you follow through is one. So don't set yourself up for failure. And just all the things about not just being a businessman or entrepreneur, but just about being a good person. Like, be involved in the community, help when you can.
Mm-hmm.
It is a business, right? So we're there to make money.
Right. Sure.
So I think I struggled early on that. Like, friends would come in and they wouldn't even ask for a deal, right? But I would be, oh, here's this, or here's a free hat, or here's this. But I learned something, and I tell young entrepreneurs now that are starting out, if you can't make money from your friends, like, your enemies aren't coming in. So
right.
So you have to, you're a true friend wants to support you. What's the price? Trust is big, right? You have to trust who you're working with, and
right.
Trying to build that, and that's what we slowly did.
Yeah. Well, now that you mentioned that about friends, I had a little thought-provoking question that I wanted to ask you deeper in, but I'm going to ask you right now.
Yeah, hit me.
So tell me, how much revenue do you think that you've passed on over the years by giving your buddies like me those discounts? Have you thought about that?
No, I don't think I want to think about that. But, if I could,
because I know you've probably saved me thousands of dollars over the years, and you've made my wife very happy. But to me, it always made me feel like you appreciated my business.
You know what?
But,
appreciate is the number one thing, right? Anyone that comes in who does business with us today, Chris and Zoe, or in the brick and mortar, right? Every time they left the store, I always made sure that they knew that I appreciate their business. And I would say that I appreciate your business, because they could have took their debit card or their cash, and they could have went anywhere else, but they came to us.
Exactly.
Right. So as for the deals and the discounts and I learned it took a while, but a true friend, right? He knows, right? Like, I have friends that come in and I say it's $20 and they leave 25.
Yeah.
Because they're always thinking that I'm, not, hey, you making money here? You have to make money. And as you get older and you get wiser, and you have things that you have to, provide the best product you can. And and not everyone's going to come shop in your store, and not taking that personally.
Right.
Too, right? I have lots of friends, you go to the rink and you knew that they didn't buy their stuff. They bought it somewhere else. And when you're younger and you're not mature enough, you would think, like, why wouldn't they come to me? Right. But then you think, you know what? They were probably in Kitchener. They were probably somewhere. It's convenient. Convenience is so important, right? It's nothing personal, right? And learning that, and which I did, helps a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of business owners say that. Real estate
Yeah.
agents say that a lot
Yeah.
too, right? Okay, so you had spoke about it. You've touched about Bev Eckert before, but looking back at the beginning, who were your mentors, and how did they, how did you rely on that?
Tim Budd, Newstead, lived in Newstead. He passed away too early. But he was a mentor. Like, he was the first guy that taught me about wanting to save money and put money away. And it didn't have to be this big, huge investment. It could be $30 or $40 a week. Tim was huge out of Newstead. Gentleman by the name of Mike Morris. He was a mentor of mine. He's from the Orangeville area, trainer for the Orangeville Crushers. The year that the Hanover Barons won the All-Ontario, Mike Morris was on the Orangeville bench. I didn't know him at the time, but he came to me, late 2000s, right? And he was a mentor, and he believed in me. Of course, Orma and Pete Padfield.
Right.
Just from their business, Padfield's Pro Hardware, would be across the street. There'd be a side entrance, and anything I needed, like I was vacuuming, I needed some carpet, some powder, a tool. I would go in there. I'd write my own invoices sometimes because they were busy. But just watching Pete and Orma run a business, they didn't have to say anything or give me any advice, but just watching them, how they talked to customers, they knew everybody. I always talk about, Pete could be cutting a key. Three of his buddies are in the back by the appliances, telling jokes. He would be telling a young lady that he'll deliver the freezer this afternoon. He'll be checking off an order. Like, this guy did incredible things. And then Orma was kind of like the glue that kept it all together. She'd be there and just always pleasant. And I learned so much from them as a couple and business owners. And, those are the type of mentors that, there's many more, but that's just a few that I could think of.
You being on our podcast today is great. And the fact that you actually have a podcast too, for the Love of the Game podcast.
Yeah.
And that you talk about these things. You talk about these things on your podcast, about your business and where it was and where it's come today. So you're actually bringing on people, or talking about people and adding a little bit of a local edge to your podcast too. But one of the things that you talk about on that podcast, it's a sponsor of your podcast. It's your new business product line, Stay Social.
Yeah.
The canned water. And so we have some here today. I just thought I'd bring one up for the camera.
Yeah.
Johnny brought me a 6-pack of Stay Social today, so I do appreciate it.
Crack one here.
Yeah.
Well.
Let's crack one. Let's jump forward to maybe a time that wasn't so great in business. And it was the fire and the immediate impact it had on your business. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the
take us back to that.
We had 2 fires in that building.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was, I was shut down for 6 months. Up in the apartment there was just a small fire. And that would have been like 2010-ish, 2009. But so I had a dress rehearsal on what to expect. And it was a short window, though, 6 to 8 weeks we were shut down, but we opened. But the most recent, May 19th, 2022, I believe is the date. And I remember my phone blowing up that morning, and I was wondering, what's going on? And then something about, there's a fire on the main street. And I really, at the time, I didn't know how serious of a fire it was, because I was kind of lying in bed thinking, you know what, I should ride the bike before I head to Hanover. I always like to have a little workout in the morning, but looking at my phone, I'm like, you know what, I should probably get there. Right. And then as I drove into, probably the third set of lights by the Circle K there, I could see the chaos downtown and just kind of like scenes of backdraft, right? Fire trucks and smoke, and still a few flames going on at the time. So it was surreal for sure. It was a shock. The forum was completely gutted. The building beside me was on its way, and then I was next. So not much you could do at that time, but just sit back and watch. And that was the initial, like, just shock, right? I didn't know what to think.
Right. So going through your mind, you're in shock. Your building's next, like you had said. You know, what were the thoughts going through about the business itself, about your business, your product, your livelihood? What was going on?
To know that, my insurance agent called like right away. And then he said, someone's going to call you in 10 minutes. And then I get that call from the adjuster. And it just, I was impressed, like looking back, how it got in motion really quick. Right. And then they asked, is there a business that you want to deal with for the fire, for the, for the cleanup? And it was High Tech right away for me.
Local business.
I know them. I've dealt with them before. They're customers, and that's how things roll, right? You build relationships with people. And so I said High Tech, and then that started. And just everything with, is all the inventory, is it ruined? And then the smoke smell is the biggest thing that you can't shake, right?
Right.
And then what's the machinery like? We have some big machines in there, lasers and embroider machines. Obviously, they cut the power to the whole building. I couldn't go in there for, I think, 2 days. So finally, 2 days, I knew I had a deposit in my desk. So I wanted to get that out, and just a quick little walkthrough with the firefighter. Then I had to leave again. So probably wasn't maybe 4 days until I could get access into the building, and to figure out what's going on in my brain. It's just nonstop.
Yeah.
Right. Is my building in good condition? Are they going to tear it down? What am I going to do in the meantime? Everyone's orders that were just ready and completed, they're going to want their order, the support you're going to get from your insurance agent, all that type of stuff is just nonstop.
So in that period of time, you had said 4 days or what have you. Did the business community come together for you? Like, what was there support in the community?
Oh, amazing support. All my friends, businesses on the main street. Hey, if you need us to store stuff for you, anything I could do for you, come in for a free meal. The support was overwhelming, which is good, which is what I would expect, right? If someone, a friend of mine was in the same situation, I would do my best to support them too. So it was good that way. My insurance broker would be Manuel Page. He's from Kincardine, good guy. And, why is he my insurance agent? Well, I played hockey with him when I was a kid.
There you go, connections.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a connection, and I always talk about that. And but they connected. So Miller's works with Germania out of Ayton, another local company, right? And so everything, all the pieces just kind of came together. But it wasn't easy, right? Because you would just think of, sometimes you get into a habit of thinking about everything that's gone wrong, right? And then sometimes you don't even want to, when you talk to people, they're trying to help, but they might be telling you their horror stories from insurance companies, and make sure you do this and make sure you do that. Right. So the biggest person that I had to kind of control was myself.
Right.
So.
Well, that was one of my questions. My next question was like, after those 4 days or that, 72 hours, how did you see the business surviving? Like what was going through your mind at that point, right? Like, how are you going to survive this? What was the thought behind that?
Yeah.
And trying to stay positive, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, there's so much negative going on.
Yeah.
But how did you pull that positiveness out of it?
I always try, always try to be positive, but I always try to be realistic too.
Right.
But like the business, I know we made a post like maybe a week after that will be shut down for the foreseeable future. But make sure you support, if you want any sporting goods, Joy Source for Sports, been in business 60 years. I remember being a kid, dealing with Jim Albright Sr., Junior's taking over the business and doing a great job over there. So I made sure that to let people know, like, hey, I'm not here, but make sure that in the meantime that you support everyone local. And then, and still at the time, I was trying to figure out what my business was going to look like. And so it just took like step by step. First of all, like, is the building salvageable, right? So probably didn't know for like maybe a month if it was. All right, now it is, because all the engineers have to come and they have to, because the buildings were like together, right? So when they were like those big backhoes and there's beams attached and
they're pulling on
it. So I think we had the official word. Month might have been too long. We might have known 3 weeks that the building was salvageable from the engineer. And then the timeline, right? I dealt closely with Jason McClement from High Tech, and he gave me a ballpark figure, which was realistic, right? Could have been 4 months, maybe. Could have been, I don't know exact the timeline.
But after all this was said and done,
yep,
there was a point then that you came to the conclusion that you had to do something else and to change it up.
So that's where you pivot, right?
Yeah.
We had a nice dress rehearsal. I shouldn't use the word nice, but COVID was a dress rehearsal on how to pivot, right? Because when COVID came, we were shut down, for 2 or 3 years. We had to learn how to establish our online business, website, local deliveries. So we had pivoted already. So at the time of the fire, we were just starting to roll, right? Like, COVID is in the rearview mirror. We're busy. And then boom, the fire happens, right? So it's like getting up to top speed and slowing right back down again. So we had to make a decision. And so the fire was in May. August 1st, I decided to bring my embroidery machines to my house.
Right.
Because they had to be maintained, and the company had to come in and make sure they were working properly.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, you know what? I could work at home and I could continue with the team side of the business, right? Which, truthfully, I love the team side of business, right? It's, and that's a whole different story that I can elaborate to you later. But I knew that I had to keep going, right? So August 1st, move everything, not everything, but a good portion of it. My good buddy Jeff McMillan brought his truck over, loaded up the embroidery machine, laser machine, skate sharpener, and then we started to work from home. Zoe and Chris, a big, huge part of the business. They didn't know what was going to happen. Right? Like, am I going to have my job? What am I going to do? And I asked them, I said, hey, let's just stick together here. Let's just get through this together. I'm not even sure I don't think we laid anyone off. We might have had reduced hours for a bit, but there was always something to do, clean up or do something. But getting to my home and working from there was the first step, just to kind of get things going.
Right.
For sure.
In that transition.
Yeah.
You were already in the midst of it, you had said, because of COVID, but there must have been a point too where you did lose clients. You lost customers.
Yeah.
How did that change your business model, or what did you have to do to adjust for that?
Well, definitely we lost the walk-in.
For sure.
Like, everyone's coming into the brick and mortar for their skates or their sticks or that. So, but I asked what we could do. What can we do? We could still do team business. And we continued on with, our website, social media is big, letting people know that we're out there still. And we just kept on, like, in customers that are team customers, they would connect with us. Hey, can you still do jerseys? Absolutely. Can you still do our corporate work? For sure. deliver. And that's when I started getting out and seeing people and shaking hands and doing deliveries and taking samples. And then I was like, that's when the light bulb started to go off. Like, you know what? There's a viable business here within the business.
Right.
And that's when I started to think that, just doing like a full-time team business, corporate wear and work on our brand too, for the love of the game.
Right.
And I'll just pivot back a little bit at COVID. That was one of the bright spots was, less walk-in traffic. We were closed. We had more time to work on for the love of the game.
Right.
So at that point, that was the positive that we took out of that. And then as we got into the later years, and then with the fire, we still had our brand that we could sell online.
Right.
And so that's when things started to change for me, Jamie.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go back a little bit too, because I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I went through my box of hat collection that I have, and I'm like missing some hats, so I had to blame my son Cole on that.
Yeah.
But I did find a few older hats, and one in particular I wanted to ask you about. So there was, of course, the fourth line.
Yeah.
Right. They're little. They're wore a few times. Yeah. And then look at the back here.
Yeah.
So I thought this was an old hat.
Yeah.
Is it old?
It's probably like 2010-ish.
What it says is it's fourth line hockey.
Yeah.
That was a brand that you had, and then you have for the love of the game on the back.
Yeah. So when we originally trademarked fourth line in like 2000, the slogan was for the love of the game.
Yeah.
Right. So then I trademarked for the love of the game as well, not knowing that it would be what it has turned out to be.
Right.
But then as I thought about it, fourth line, it's just for hockey, right? For the love of the game is every sport, every hobby,
Exactly.
whatever you do to kind of take your mind away from, from anything. And that's my personal experience with for the love of the game. If I had anything that troubling as a kid or something like that, if I went to the rink or the ball field, I forgot about that stuff. And that's how for the love of the game came to be.
Right.
But fourth line hockey started as senior hockey, coming from junior hockey, getting a regular shift to playing on a really deep Thundercat team and just joking around. And I remember Stacy Becker and I would joke around. He wasn't a fourth liner, but I would joke with him saying like, fourth line bar and grill, right? And you'd come in, there would be no Gretzky's or Lemieux. You'd see Joey Kosher and Bobby
Wendell
Probert, Wendell Clark. These tough.
Well, he
guys,
wasn't
right?
really fourth line, but
No,
yeah.
but that's where fourth line came, and then for the love of the game, and then we tried to use it like together, and then I thought, as closer to that COVID time, we have to get for the love of the game out by itself, and we did that, and it's growing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I have my sweater here with me today,
Yeah.
and I think I have 3 or 4 of these sweaters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love them. One other thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a success story. You're going to have to explain it because I don't know much about it. You had this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had this undrafted, unsigned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was this another brand?
Yeah. It's a trade. We have a trademark.
I wore this a few times too.
Yeah.
By the looks of it.
So it's funny now because just this week I was talking to Chris about this brand and how I just want to alter it a little bit. But the way the logo is, it's trademarked, just like that, undrafted, unsigned. And, sometimes, I get ideas, right? You talk about like motivating yourself and pumped up, and undrafted, unsigned was like, hey, just because you go undrafted, it doesn't mean the journey's over. It's just beginning, right? But, just like fourth line hockey, sometimes not everyone wants to be a fourth line hockey player, right? It's more for the guys catered to like what we do Sunday mornings. We're out there, we're having fun, and we're just playing for the love of the game. The undrafted, unsigned is like, I've pivoted on that, right? Because I'm undrafted, I'm unsigned, but I have a heck of a time, playing with my friends, playing Sunday mornings, golfing. And that's where I think we're going to try to push that brand. But that's there, right? And I'd love to work on it a little more, but I like it. So maybe someday we'll see a little more of it. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. I got more hats in here, but I think we'll move on.
Yeah,
from
perfect.
hats
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
So you talked about pivoting because of the fire, but you were already in kind of the works of doing that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the financial issues or struggles that would happen because of a pivot, or the realities of switching things up. And because it's not always about the good comeback story. Like there's challenges with that too. Was there anything like that in doing what you did?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I think by the time I got to the fire, I've had plenty of years of cash flow challenges, of like a dress rehearsal of undercapitalized, doing things because I wanted to do them. And then if I would have talked to like an accounting team or something, they would have said, "Are you crazy? You can't do that." But I'm like, "No, I think it's going to work." Right. So you go through, I opened in 96, and then we grew. Right. So then to 2004, and 2004 was when I decided to come to Hanover for a second store.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're going to Hanover. Have you thought this through? No, we're going. Right. So we rented a building for the first year in Hanover. And then I'm like, what I noticed is like, there's more Durham people coming to Hanover. I see more Durham people in Hanover than I do in Durham. So, so that was noted. Right. And then we bought the building across the street. And, so now that's a bit of a strain.
Some financial pressures.
Yeah. But, we, made up, I remember a gentleman, Robert Cannon Sherlock. There's a shout out. Great guy. Worked in the school board, Grey Highlands. But he was like a business mentor of mine too. And he'd sit down, and I told him I wanted to open a second store in Hanover, and we'd have what do you think? You need skates? Write it down. We need this, write it down. What do you think of inventory? How much? Write it down. So I like business plans now. And he was the first guy that kind of got me thinking that way. But it was a stretch moving to Hanover because now I had 2 stores, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, staff, I had a lot of great people work with me. But those years from like 2004 to 2010 were like the hardest cash flow challenges. Like, you want to talk about multiple lines of credits, maxed, multiple credit cards.
They're stealing from Paul to pay Peter.
Oh, those guys knew the first name basis, right? And it's tough on, just married, having a child, puts super stress on your marriage.
For sure.
And you'd be on vacation somewhere, and I'd have to call my mom and say, "Hey, Mom, can you write this check and then put it in this account?" And then because I called Kathy at the credit union, Kathy Lawrence, awesome. And that was before like online banking and stuff, right? And I would say, "Hey, how does it look today?" Kathy, she goes, "Well, you need about 3,500 in here by 3:00. And you hang up the phone and you're like, "Okay, how's this going to happen?"
Yeah.
Right. You go to the post office, anyone mail us a check. Right. But, I could honestly say in 30 years, maybe once, I think I had to call the bank and say, "Can you hold the check? Like, can you hold it?" Because if you don't get it there by 3, I always wonder what happens. Right. But if you call and I would say like, "Can you hold it for 1 day?" And then you just go home that night, and then you just hope that it works out. But so by the time the fire happened, Jamie, I feel like, I've lived through that. Right. And, cash flow, and, you have an idea, you're stubborn. I'm stubborn. I want to make something work. Investing money into things that just don't work. That's life.
Yeah.
Right. And, as I get older, and, we have these ideas and stuff, I'm thinking I'm a little more wiser, careful. But the stresses on financial stresses, like that was a good, I was telling someone the other day, I've been in business 30 years, but 18 of those years were to the max.
Wow.
Like I said, credit cards. And when you go for a loan, right, you're just happy to get the loan. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not like negotiating the interest rate. I'm just happy to get it. Right. So,
Well, I get it. No, I understand.
yeah. So
speaking of that, let's go into it.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the community improvement fund.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, because we know that, through SCDC that you were able to apply and take advantage of that CIP program that the town of Hanover had. And then with our CIP assistance fund, we were allowed to support you on that too. So how did you utilize that program and those funds with the business, and what did that do for you?
First of all, like SEDC, right? I'm a member since I've dealt with Rose Austin. Having an idea, fourth line hockey. She believed in it. My first loan, and I think that was like a 15-year journey, right? So I was familiar for sure. And then when these CIP opportunities came up, an opportunity to maybe make the front of the store look nicer, fix the steps, some painting. You have to take advantage of that.
For sure.
Right? And it's contagious too. When you're in a downtown setting, all of a sudden you see, I looked across the street. Oh, it looks like, Lasting Memory's got a new sign. Well, hey, you know what? I need to get a new sign, right? So those programs, if you don't use them, you'll lose them, right?
Exactly.
So, it was huge for me, for sure.
Right. So, we try to promote those programs. Like you said, it's about, understanding that our downtown core, sometimes business owners have challenges, right? And when there's programs that the municipality or the town of Hanover put out, and a business can't take advantage of that because, like you said before, because the cash flow, right?
Yeah.
The cash flow is tight. So SEDC decided we need to assist our business community with some type of fund that is affordable and that we can at least get them to be able to take advantage of that other 50% of the funds that come from the municipality. So it does work well. And we're glad that we did put that out there.
You can't beat it, Jamie. No one's sometimes when you're in your business and you're so dialed into preparing orders, helping customers, dealing with your cash flow, making the front of your building look better, just is it's last on the depth chart, right? So when you get a push from an organization like yourself, right, to hey, we want to help you, 50%, that's, and the fact that you just don't want to give 100% because you want to make sure that we're in, right? So the halfway mark, get some quotes, get some tenders, the paperwork, and the applying. If I could do it, anyone can do it, right? So it's big, and I think, like I said before, it's contagious. You want your downtown, and you want your business to look good, and business looks good for the whole town.
Exactly. So let's go back. You said 30 years in business. What are some of the lessons that you've learned then over that 30-year span? Or as you say on your podcast, life lessons. What are those life lessons?
Oh, there's so many. Yeah.
Where do you start?
I don't know.
Experience. How did that experience that you've had, the resilience that you've had to get to where you are now? What can you teach others about that?
I know it's just to stay positive is, it's easier said than done, but sometimes you're not positive, but just to take like my mom would always say, one step at a time, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes we try to, to get through something and we want it done today, instantly. Things take time. So being patient is one,
right,
for sure. I'm not being afraid to ask for help, right? Any type of help, right? Business help, help with mental health, with, support. There's so many, your friends want to see you do well. But just having character, and it's a quote, it's a Tony Robbins quote. You'll love it. But it's the ability to follow through on a resolution after the mood in which the resolution was made is past. So sometimes we get great ideas, and it could be at I'm classic for this too, 12 a.m. writing stuff down. You're just jacked.
In the shower.
In the shower. Then you wake up the next morning like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think that's going to work type thing. But just kind of following through. And,
so is there a system that you use or safeguards maybe that you put in place?
Oh, I'm probably going to remember them after, Jamie.
Oh, okay.
But like, I know, like, I love the 4 agreements, right? It's one. I wish I would have read this book in my 20s, would have saved me a lot of heartache. But the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word, never make assumptions, don't take things personally, and always do your best, right? So I could look in the camera and say, I'm absolutely terrible at all 4 of those, but I'm working on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
like not taking things personally. It's hard.
Yeah.
Right. Not making assumptions. I do it all the time, but I learn. You learn. If you do it once or twice, right? But if you continue to do that, that's on you.
Right.
Right. Always doing my best. I think that's probably like the one that I can do, the best, and impeccable word, just like we're in we're everywhere sometimes, right? So sometimes we get, like I said, that book, I read it maybe 10, 12 years ago type thing, but I wish in my 20s, some guy would have said, hey man, read this book, because it's really going to kind of streamline a lot for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, outside of that, let's say a new entrepreneur, someone that's looking to get into business came to you.
Yeah.
What would be the advice you'd give them?
You know what? People don't buy what you do. It's why you do it. Right. So that's a quote from a book. It's about why. And that's a big thing, right? Like,
if they see the passion and what
people want to see why you do it. They want to see that you're engaged. You're going to make that call, after hours. You're going to deliver something. You're going to do everything you can to make it possible, right? And that's what, the young generation, it doesn't matter if you're a plumber or a hairdresser, whatever you're doing, like, have a passion for it, enjoy it, because, if you work at something that we all have before, right, just wasn't for us, but, moving on and just kind of like take a risk, right? But a calculated risk, and but the passion, and enjoy what you do for sure.
No, we talk about that with loan clients, people who are applying for a loan. We look at where's the passion, like what do they bring to the table that really is going to help them succeed in the long run?
Yeah.
Because it's not a race, right? A business ownership, it's a marathon. So you need to have that passion to get you out of bed every morning to strive to become a successful business owner. Yeah. So that's very important.
Taking the 24-hour rule, we use that in hockey all the time, right? Calm down, but you can use that in business too.
True.
Like so many times, the older I get, I just pump the brakes a little bit, and don't have to make a decision right now. Sleep on it, because sometimes you might think you're right, and you might want to let the person know why you're right, but you could be in a bad mood. There could be something that happened at home, or there could be, so just taking some time to let things simmer. You might say something you regret, right? So these are all things that I've done. So that's what makes a great mentor, the experience. Yeah. So I know you've mentored people. Yeah, no, I don't know if I have officially, but if someone asks me for advice, I just tell them the truth, right? Just be passionate, and just, if you're going to say something, do it. Yeah. Right. I got deeper, edgier follow-ups. Oh, nice. And I had that thought-provoking question in this, but we already asked it. Yeah. But let's go deeper. Deeper, let's go. Was there a moment you almost walked away completely? Yeah. It was, so I'm a college graduate. I'm not sure if you knew that, Jamie. Law and security. In Owen Sound or Barrie? Owen Sound. Okay. Yeah. So my dad would always introduce me to his friends as the OPP. That was his vision. He wanted me to be a cop. Lord knows he didn't know that I was scared of the dark. I'd have to be like strictly day shifts. But I thought maybe that I was going to be a police officer, right? So I went to school 2 years and 18, 19, and then I'm working MSO construction at the same time. I work at Pine Hill Youth Residence, right?
Yeah.
Worked for a year and a half there. And I thought I wanted to be a police officer, but it didn't work out. Although I didn't even apply. But, I started the store at 21, and then now I'm 10, 15 years later, I'm like mid 30s, 35, 33, 34, 35. We have 2 stores. And I think, you know what? That's in the middle of the cash flow decade, right? Paycheck to paycheck. Struggles, right? And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice just to have a paycheck, right? And just a good paycheck, And so that's when I did all the police testing. I wrote the tests, did the physicals, and it was so close because I thought that was the best move for my family, right? I was just burnt out and ready to quit because I just couldn't handle the predicament, the cash flow, the credit cards, the day-to-day stuff, right? To the point that I remember I met an accountant. So Tim Budd passed away. He was my accountant, great guy. He recommended me to a BDO guy in town here. And I remember going to his office and he'd be like, how do you do this? Like, how are you making this work? I'm like, I don't know how this works. He's like, he was mind boggled, right? Like, how the math doesn't work, Johnny, and not in your favor. So I said, okay, whatever, right? So then I remember I switched accounts, right? That's what you do.
That was the best.
Yeah,
decision you ever made.
Yeah, I'm leaving type thing. So, and then that accountant, who's a super good friend of mine, he sent me to Owen Sound and he told me, I'm going to send you to a friend of mine for a proposal. Just going to see about a proposal. I didn't know what proposal meant, right? He said, gather all your stuff, right? And take the Owen Sound. So I tell my wife at the time, Karen, I'm going for a proposal. She's okay. That's going to help. Let's go. But we didn't know what proposal meant. So I remember I took all the papers.
And we're talking about a consumer proposal here.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get to that. Yeah. So I'm there and he's looking through, Buddy's got his glasses by his nose and he's, yeah, you own this building. Yeah. Third mortgage. Yeah. We got first mortgage, second mortgage, third mortgage, right? But he says to me at the end, he goes, you know what? You're right there. You're right there. You can either go left and just pack it all in, or you can just keep grinding. And I said, I didn't. Then that's when it clicked. I'm like, holy cow. Proposal means bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you guys might think I'm silly, but I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
So I remember leaving that place and I'm like, okay, my good friend just sent me here to see if it's best for me to go bankrupt. And I appreciated that he did that. That was a huge wake up call. And that was right around the same time that I was thinking about maybe being a police officer. Johnny K, serve and protect was better, right? So that was when you talk about financial or going deeper in your questions, that's about as deep as you can go.
Right.
Right. I didn't want, a family history, my dad's been bankrupt 2 or 3 times. You know what I mean? It was just I didn't want to go there.
Right.
So I just remember just thinking, no, I'm going to grind away. I'm not going bankrupt.
Right.
And then around the same time I was doing those police tests, Jack was born. And, but I remember the pivoting. So you want to talk about it's stressful, cash flow challenges, the proposal meeting, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to keep trying. And then, I had 2 stores and then I made you want to talk about a decision in 2010 to close the Durham store, right? First of all, the Durham store opened in 96. My ego wanted to keep that building open, right? That business open there, right? Because that's where I started and I'm proud. But you know what? What makes sense? Right? Financially, right? Decision. So at the time, my manager was with me there, and then she decided that she was done. She had some life-changing things happen to her, and she was leaving the area, selling her house, And I'm like, this is it. This is perfect timing, right? So she was leaving for a week's holiday. Again, I go to my best buddy, Jeff McMillan. He pulls up in his truck. We did 3 loads of inventory, Durham to Hanover. The Durham store is now officially closed.
Right.
Right. And at that point, that was the biggest pivot right there.
Right.
Because I was considering being a police officer, doing these tests, going to interviews with OPP for auxiliary, all that type of stuff, thinking this was going to be a major move for me.
Mhm.
Right. I remember Jeremy White having a conversation with me one time, and he was the West Gray Police. Now he's the chief in Durham. But I remember at the time, and he goes, "Are you sure you want to be a police officer?" I said, "Yeah, I think so, Jeremy. Like, I think so." Because he wanted to make sure, like, he goes, "It looks like you have a good job here and this, that." I said, "Yeah, but it's kind of stressful." I didn't get into it with him.
Right.
But once the Durham store closed, Jamie, and then I just had one place to go to, Durham to Hanover. Took about 2 months, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like this again.
It was the best pivot.
Yeah, I kind of like doing this. I kind of like having one store. Like, no one's calling Durham and saying, "Hey, do you have a size 4 cleat?" "Yeah, I'll bring it tomorrow." Then you got to remember to bring stuff back and forth. Like, talk to anyone that has multiple businesses. Moving inventory back then was one of the hardest stressful things. So you forgot it. You got to drive back and forth. But once we closed the Durham store, we were able to find a tenant there. They're still there. So that was a good move. But once we closed the Durham store, I was like, you know what? I can do this. Right. I can work here full-time Hanover. The downtown's busier. I'm in one spot. Then we bought some embroidery machines. Everything started to kind of like get better. But that was the turning point for me. I almost quit, thought I'd be a police officer, which I was never officially hired to be a police officer. I don't know how I would have done. But I mean, but that was it. Closed the Durham store. And then I'm like, okay, full throttle. I can do this.
Cool.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So closing questions. Let's wrap up and get some good closing questions here. Yeah.
Stay social. Feel good. Yeah.
What does success look like for you now compared to before the fire?
You know what? Getting up every day and enjoying what I do, right? Like having a good team, right? Zoe and Chris, they're going to take over that business someday, right? People call, they know now sometimes, like Zoe's, like when it comes to, putting a website together, putting together a product selection, just all that type of stuff. She's awesome.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
Chris, my nephew, been with me 12 years. Zoe's 10. Chris might be pushing 13 years. But you want to talk about a young mind that has ideas, that can like run a laser machine or our forehead embroidery machine. He's always learning something new about this machine.
Yeah.
Right. And just having, that's success for me, having a good team.
Right.
Right. And just getting up every day, enjoying what I do, having ideas like the canned water, I continue to push with For the Love of the Game. And just, we're doing rink tours now. And that was just a fun thing we would do on social media. I went to Charlie's game once in Brussels about 3 years ago, and I posted how old the arena was. And then we've had so many hits and so much comments. And then now we've put together, it's called the Great Canadian Rink Tour. And the goal is to get to rinks across Canada. And my good buddy Nico on the main street here, eSights Creations, he's going to help me. The biggest challenge with the Great Canadian Rink Tours, everyone would post or comment where they want me to go, but it's so hard to funnel it all. Right? Did it come from Instagram? Was it a DM? Was it a TikTok? So now Nico's going to help me with, when someone says, you should go to the P&H Center in Hanover. I've been there. Here's the link. You can go to our website. You can see where we've been. And, you could recommend a place for us to go. So this year we went to Flin Flon, Manitoba. It was on the Saskatchewan-Manitoba border. That was a request we had 3 years ago. That was probably one of the funnest trips I've ever had. And we went to Winnipeg, and, I plan on going east and west. And that's I always say it could take 30 years, but that's another journey that we're taking here for sure.
Awesome. I've watched many of your episodes, and I know you speak to all that, and yeah, you can really see the excitement that you put into your episodes when you do talk about your rink tours. But Flin Flon, Manitoba was probably one of the ones that you really look forward to, and you spoke about how fun it was, and that was good. I enjoyed
Think about
that one.
communities too, right, Jamie? Like all the rinks that we've played in, everyone has a memory. You know, I played ball hockey there. I watched my kids grow up there, figure skating. There's always a comment. And think about a rink. Like it's the first place you go to. Sometimes something might happen. You might lose a loved one in your family, but you always like, well, we got to go to the game. You know, like, I mean, like, you know, you got to go next week. You got to put it all together. And who do you see? Your friends there. And, you know,
Yeah,
it's
you're
just,
right.
it's almost like a meeting place. And that's what I like about it.
Awesome. You talked about being proud of, you know, having Chris working, and what you see, how you see your nephew and your niece develop, and that they'll take over the business and such. What's other things that make you proud of what you've accomplished so far in your business and in your life right now?
Just sticking with it.
Yeah, being proud of that.
Just showing
That's
up.
important.
And just, you know, like everyone has hard times. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
it's important for you to recognize that. That's an achievement, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And just, you know, through all this, you know, you're in business, right? But we're people, right? Things happen, right? You know, like you lose, like, you know, your father, or I lose my sister, lose my mom. And that's all within the structure of you're a businessman, right? But I'm also human too, right?
Mhm.
So being able to continue on and to keep on, you know, making them proud.
Yeah.
Right? I got a son, 2 sons, Jack and Charlie, right? I want them to see what, you know, what grinding looks like. And, you know, when you get through adversity, you got to keep on moving, right? Keep your feet moving.
Right.
Just like when we're coaching hockey, you know, feet first, right? Then what happens? You get your head up, you make a pass, you see opportunities. But if you don't move your feet, you're not getting anywhere. So that's the whole thing.
Unless you play old timers.
Sunday mornings, you should maybe we get a live. We could do a podcast from that in the winter
Yeah,
time.
that's
But
an idea.
It's entertaining, folks. If you want to be there too.
Okay. If you wanted the listeners to remember anything, what is it you'd like them to remember from today?
Just if you're young and you're getting into business, just keep at it. Have a passion for it. Ask yourself why, and just keep at it.
Okay. And what's next for you in your business?
You know what? I'm really I know the water thing, the Stay Social. It's been fun, and it's just a hobby right now, but I like what it stands for. You know, I call it a can of camaraderie, right? I'm not a drinker, but it's not because, you know, sometimes when you're in an environment and you don't drink, sometimes you have to explain why you don't drink. Like nothing bad happened to me. It just doesn't work for me, right? And I can only speak to me, but sometimes I want to be in the mix. Sometimes I want to be in the dressing room after. I want to crack a can of something, and it happens to be water, and it keeps me social, and it keeps me connected, and makes me feel part of it. So that's the next venture. Like I said, it's just a hobby now. Where it goes, I don't know. But in the meantime, I'm having fun working with Chris and Zoe on For the Love of the Game, and our team business and association business, and just everything in between.
Good. Okay, so where can people find you? How do they follow your business?
Our website, fortheloveofthegame.com, drinkstaysocial.com. But if you go to our website, there's contact us, and you can send us an email or give us a call, and go from there. But yeah, we're an online business. We work from home. Is that going to be forever? I don't know, Jamie, but in the near future it is, but I could see us getting it back into a brick and mortar someday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So one last thing. So SCDC, I don't know if you're aware of this, SCDC, Saugeen Economic Development Corporation. We've been in business for 40 years. This is our 40th year.
It's impressive.
Yeah. We've, come a long way. We've helped a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of businesses over those years. At SCDC, we use loan numbers for our loan clients that we lend to. And your loan number was 934.
Oh, good.
So when I look at your loan number, because today, currently, we're hitting almost the 1,500.
Okay, cool.
So when I look at your loan number, it
Yeah.
tells me two things. It tells me that you've been in business for quite a while,
Yeah.
for a long time, and you've succeeded. You've pivoted and you haven't perished, right? And that's important. And that's just a testament of your fortitude and your success and your hard work. And I just want to congratulate you. Good job.
No, thanks, buddy. I
Thanks for
appreciate it.
coming on,
That was
John.
good. Yeah, I'm happy to be
Appreciate
here.
it. Yeah,
That
it
was
was
good.
Thanks for listening to The Local Edge, brought to you by Saugeen Economic Development Corporation, working in partnership for our community's future. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of collaboration, resilience, and success across our local communities.